are live.
Hey everybody, it's Dave with DII. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to have our classic free handpan class today. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, obviously go down here to the left, well, my left, to your right, I believe, below the screen. Click the red subscribe button and become a subscriber. It'd be great to have you as a subscriber. Also, if you haven't been to our website yet, davesislandinstruments.com, go there and if you go down to the bottom of the page there, you'll find that there's like a little subscribe button for our newsletter. You can get news from us from time to time from the different things we have going on, like this live show right now, and all sorts of other things. I also want to mention that we've got a new platform called the DII Community. It's a lessons platform where you can learn how to play the handpan. So today's our free class. It's kind of like an introductory class for those of you who are interested in the handpan or want to get a few little hints and pointers and that sort of thing. But if you go to the DII community, you can see it on screen there. Go to the services tab, I believe, on the website and find the online lessons and click on that and it'll take you to the DII community. It's a great platform. It's got all sorts of lessons for the specific instruments that we tune and make here at DII. This is a handpan right here. This is the Luna Clarity. So there's a whole list of lessons now for the Luna Clarity instrument there. There's just a beginner course for beginners that takes you all through just the beginning aspects, kind of like what I'm going to be doing today with how to play the instrument and how to get the sound out of it. But it also goes on with our Satin series handpans. It has lessons for our the RS stainless steel model that we have, and we're planning on adding more and more lessons as we continue into the future. For instance, I've got some songs I want to start teaching, and so we're going to be putting those up pretty soon, maybe in the next month or two. So that's going to be really fun and exciting to get people involved with learning some songs and that sort of thing on the platform as well. So anyway, if you haven't been there already, check it out. I'm probably going to be referencing it throughout this lesson today just because it's a really great source of information, and hope you can check it out sometime. All right, so moving on, by the way, today is an excellent day for you to make a comment. And if you make a comment, we can read it back or post it on the screen and answer your question live. So if you won't have any questions for us while I'm going through the lesson here, feel free to put it in the comments section. It'd be great to hear from you, even just like a little hello or whatever. It's always fun to hear from people on the live chat as the show moves ahead. All right, by the way, also, is this the second by the way? I think this is the second by the way I've talked about. We've got Daniel with us. Daniel, are you there?
Yes, I am. Here we go. Bam! I'm the
All
guest
right,
for
there
today.
he is. Yeah, we've had some spectacular guests over the past few months. Last week we had Sapita. She's a DII customer and a great player now. And by the way, Daniel, you remember this. At the end of our live show last time, I had a question. Should I wear my black DII shirt to the gig? Because she and I played a gig right after the live show.
Right.
Or should I wear the purple one? So I did end up wearing the purple shirt. So just FYI, for all of anybody out there that's watching that may have voted for the purple, just FYI, I wore the purple.
You wore the purple. Did you take a picture of it, or?
Yeah, there's a picture out there floating around, so I'll have to find that and we can post it later.
We can post it so you know. We have proof. We have proof.
Exactly. So what's going on with you today, Daniel?
Just hanging out. Actually, oh my God. One of the things that I was working on this year was to play the handpan and ukulele together. I know we did that during, we were at the live show? Yeah, it was the live show earlier this year, and we got to play together. But that's always been my thing. And then looping, I haven't tried it yet. And I got a new looper, so it's pretty cool. I've been
you know what? I bet you beginners would be fascinated. Can you show it to them and just show them what it does and tell them just briefly, real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, this is kind of an amazing practice tool because I didn't realize timing. You have your own timing, but then there's timing. And this actually is the best metronome in the world because this is called the Boss RCE 500 loop station. And basically it's foot pedal operated, and I can do stuff like this. Let's see if I can hit it.
Yeah, baby.
This is the loop I did earlier. And then it has So that's what you can do with it, and you can just keep keep on going. It's so awesome. Like my mind is absolutely blown, and like to be able to play the handpan and the ukulele together by myself is so awesome.
Oh no, I can imagine. Yeah, best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, I think the possibilities are like endless, and I'm just excited right now. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome. So yeah, like you said, timing is kind of key with those loopers.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because some people have issues and difficulty with timing when they're learning how to play something. Frequently, people play too fast.
Yeah.
Like you'll say, "Do this."
Yeah.
Just run the scale like that, and they want to go just like boom, like right out the gate. But you, as a beginner, you need to take things slow.
Yeah.
And just let your body learn it slowly.
Yeah.
So it's great that you're talking about that because those loopers really would work for that, wouldn't they?
No, and you can like adjust the tempo. You can add. Like, it's like because like before I've seen. Like I've researched like the loopers and stuff, and they have simple ones, and then they have like ones that have like the things that you need. Because I wanted ukulele and a microphone, so I can mic up the handpan, and this one has it all in one spot. And then there's a lot of technical stuff to it, but it's pretty amazing once you get it. You're just like doing it. And that loop that I just did was just I've been messing with it for like 3 days. And I'm actually putting like flute sounds into it. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, it is cool, man. Well, anyway, so thanks for showing us that. I know that a lot of people are really interested in loopers. They're all the rage these days.
Oh yeah, it's fun. You're a one-man band.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Totally. Yeah. All right. Well, let me get started with the lesson here. Daniel, do you have any final thoughts for us before I get started on the lesson?
Ukulele. This summer is going to be pretty cool. We're planning some live events over at Dave's Island since like the restrictions are lifting. Actually, next Saturday, I'm going to do, if you guys play ukulele and you're in the local area, I'm going to have like a COVID safe jam, probably in the parking lot or something like that. And it's going to be at 11. I haven't put out the thing yet, but I think it's going to be 11. And then an opportunity to be on the live Ook show also at that time. So,
nice. Yeah.
It'd be pretty fun.
That reminds me, by the way, I'm going to be going to Alaska in 2 weeks. And so the next live show that I have is going to be in Alaska. So hopefully...
Oh, yeah, that's going to be fun.
Hopefully I will be able to, with you, log in and make everything work, hopefully.
We'll make it happen. We'll totally make it happen.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But that's the plan, is to have me in Alaska next 2 weeks from now and do the live class from Alaska. That should be fun.
No, that should be awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for bringing it on,
sir.
Dave. Yep.
All right. Moving on to the handpan. So anybody that's brand new to handpans, I'm just going to kind of go down the list of all of the basic stuff so that you become more familiar with the instrument that you either purchased recently or that you're thinking about purchasing or maybe even renting from us. Okay, so this is a handpan. Kind of looks like a flying saucer, right? It's got the top side here with all the notes on it, and it has the bottom side that has the big hole in it. So the top side, we call this the top shell, and the bottom side, we call it the bottom shell. This big note in the middle right here is called the ding, D-I-N-G, ding note. The notes around the perimeter here are called tone field notes. Sometimes I just call them notes. Other people call them tone fields, so that's why we call them tone field notes. These here, these little divots in the notes are called dimples, little indentations. And later on I'm going to show you that yes, you can basically aim for those dimples when you're playing it to get the tone out of the notes. On the bottom, it's got this big hole in the bottom, and this is called the goo hole. G-U is the way it's spelled, goo. And these notes here are just some bottom notes that I added to this bottom shell. Not all handpans have notes on the bottom. Sometimes they only have the goo hole and just a plain bottom. But this one has 3 notes on the bottom. And these dimples are projecting outwards. The reason they're projecting outwards is so that when you reach underneath, you can kind of feel where they are and attack those notes a little bit with more accuracy. So that's why those dimples are outward on the bottom. Also, it makes it just a little bit closer for your hand, so you don't have to dig in so far to get the note to play properly. All right, so the edge here is called the rim, and we've got like this little rubber protective stuff on the rim here, and you can take it on, take it off. Sometimes it changes the sound just a little bit, so sometimes it makes it a little bit more muted when it's on. If you want to have a little bit of a brighter sound, you can take it off and experiment with that. Other handpan makers, sometimes they have different kinds of ring or rim protectors on them. Sometimes they're fabric or made out of woven material of some sort. But you can take that on and off. It's not a problem if you do. Okay, this is a powder coated handpan. It's got this real clear finish on it. Powder coating is kind of like a paint, but instead of being painted on with a wet paint that dries in the air, powder coating is dry and is electrostatically applied to the metal, and then it's put into a big oven and then it's baked on, so it basically melts onto the surface of the metal, and so it's very, very durable and really keeps the moisture off of the steel really, really well. So we really like it here at DII. Over here, by the way, this is a satin finish one, so it has a powder coated finish on it also, but it just has a little bit of a satin finish rather than the gloss. Okay, so that's kind of just the basics of the handpan. So if you're not familiar with it, you got your little download right there. Now, we used to do this class, by the way, pre-COVID, when people would actually come in and we'd surround ourselves in a little semicircle, and I would give a class and a lesson just similar to this. People would frequently have any questions, so if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section, and I can address those anytime during the show. All right, so let's move on to how do you play. Oh, let's see. Let's talk about where are the notes placed, first of all. The orientation of the handpan, then we're going to get started on how to play them. All right, so since it's a circle, you can kind of twist this and play it in any direction, really, right? Like that sort of thing. But typically, I set it up to where the bigger notes are towards my belly and the smaller notes are away from me. Our handpans have a logo here. Our 9-note handpans, the logo is directly at the 12 o'clock position. With our Luna Satin and our Luna Clarity, like this one, it's actually at the 11:30 position. So if you have one of those of ours, you can put that logo at the 11:30 and it should be over there. At that point, you've got the ding note in the center, and then you've got the bigger notes over here by your belly, and you can kind of split them in half, like half of the notes are on the right side and half the notes are on the left side. And you can usually kind of tell that's the direction of where the notes are going to go, because typically handpans, if you play these notes starting here, it's going to go right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So you're going to notice that there's like a little bit of a pattern that emerges after you start playing your instrument, so from low to high. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is just kind of get you started if you've never played a handpan before, or like I said, if you've got a rental or if you just purchased one and you're looking for some basic instruction. You're just going to get your hand started on the ding note. You can just use one finger. I usually use my index finger.
Dave, we have a quick question.
Oh, excellent. Go for it.
I'm adding it to the broadcast here. Boom. And Irkan Eldemir, how many centimeters should be the distance between the notes of the handpan? Does that affect the sound?
Oh, like just between the notes? We call that the interstitial metal. So yeah, that's actually a really good question because it's kind of technical. So we'll just get into that real quick. Yes, it does matter. Usually, the more space you have between the notes, it kind of gives a more clear sound for each of the notes that's tuned to the instrument. So for instance, the more notes you add to the shell of a handpan, for instance, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I added a 9th note and basically tightened up everything else to allow space for that 9th note, it's going to bring all of the notes a little bit closer. And the tendency is that when you bring them closer like that, they lose a little sustain, so they don't have as long of sustain. And sometimes they have a punchier, more dry kind of sound. So that's okay in certain instances, but if you're looking for like a handpan that has lots of sustain and really, really meditative sound, you might appreciate the sound of a handpan that has fewer notes and it has more space between the notes. So there's a difference. There's kind of the people that play the instruments. Some people want them for meditation, and some people want to play them on the street corner and play fancier stuff that's more performance-based. So if you're a performer and you're trying to really play some really active lines and have some fun stuff going on, and you're not really concerned about the sustain or the length of or the duration of the sound that you're producing, then yeah, you might consider getting a handpan that has more notes on it. And that's not always true. This is kind of a generality, but yeah, the more space you have between the notes, typically the sound from the notes is more sustained and has a little bit more just pureness of tone. That's another thing. So sometimes when you get notes that are placed too close to each other, you get this thing called crosstalk, where I play this note, but right now you hear an F, but it might sound like this. It has like two notes sounding at the same time when you're really only playing one note. And that's called crosstalk, and basically they're so close together that they're vibrating each other, and they're causing each other to vibrate even when just one is played all by itself. So that's called crosstalk, and that can be a problem, especially on the higher register notes. Sometimes when you get them too close, they start to crosstalk quite a bit. So yeah, there's all sorts of specifics on that subject, but in general, the more space you have between the notes, the more duration of sound you're going to have, the longer sustain, and the smaller area between the notes, sometimes you're going to get a punchier sound, a little drier sound, and then of course you got to watch out for that crosstalk. So there you go. There you go. That was a really good question. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about just getting started with your playing technique. So one of the easy things to do is just get started with the ding note. And I was saying that you could use your index finger. Some people use their thumb, like that. I like using my index finger, and I'm actually kind of using the little harder part on the bottom side of my knuckle there to strike that note. I find that if I use the fatty part of my finger, sometimes it doesn't work quite as well. It has like a bit of a muted sound. And I kind of use that same technique for all of the notes. So earlier I was talking to you about the dimples and where do I play it. I do kind of aim for that dimple with my finger. So the entire tip of my finger is kind of going into that dimple. The smaller dimple here, I just kind of aim for it. And it's not like I'm really intentionally trying to get into that dimple with my finger, but that's kind of the location that my finger ends up in. So as a quick exercise, just to get started, you can just start playing maybe 4 on each hand. You just strike the ding note 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can switch to your left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. And just go back and forth for a while. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to experiment with different fingers, you can. Like I'll switch to my thumb here. I had one person recently tell me, he was a really good player, that he doesn't actually use the knuckle part of his finger out here on the edge. He uses a little bit of the fatty part of his thumb. So that's just one person's technique that I heard of recently. There's different ways you can play the instrument. You don't have to use your index finger. You don't have to use your thumbs. You can use pretty much any finger you want. You just have to realize it's going to take practice, and it depends on what kind of sound you want to get out of the instrument. For instance, if I want to get a nice full-bodied sound, I'm probably not going to use my little finger because it doesn't have very much mass to it, and it's small, and it's awkward. But if you wanted to use it for some kind of cool effect, it makes it look cool on screen too, right? So you can definitely do that for kind of an effects. You can use those fingers for effects and different kind of ways of expressing yourself. But in general, I think I see most people using their index finger or their thumbs. Another thing that I was basically told by some really good players recently was they do use the tip of their fingers. So this is something that I kind of want to clarify. So a lot of beginners, they will walk up and they'll play like this with a curved finger, kind of like that. But they're not getting any sound out of it. And they kind of attack it like this, almost like a piano, like if you're playing piano with that curved finger. But that doesn't produce any sound. So if you do use the tip of your finger, you kind of just need to hit it and get off of it as soon as possible.
Quick
question. It's almost like it's almost like it's almost like you have a little mini trampoline. You just push onto that trampoline really fast and come off of it really fast. So that's how you produce that sound with a tip. Okay, go ahead, Daniel.
Here it is. Does the steel you use matter? Which steel do you use?
Ah, steel, of course. So,
Sounds
good
like
question.
People. Sounds like.
Yeah. No, it's all good. A lot of people have these questions about handpans, and I've been making instruments out of steel for a long, long time. So before I made handpans, I made steel drums, and steel drums were made out of 55-gallon barrels, just plain barrels, right? You can go to a recycle center, you can get an old barrel, and you can make one out of a recycled steel barrel, or you can get a brand new barrel, which I ended up doing more regularly, is because they're cleaner and everything. But the steel that you get from a 55-gallon barrel, you don't really have a choice as to what kind of metal you get. Sometimes you have a choice as to how thick the steel is, and that matters a lot. So like a thicker steel is going to have a different sound than a thinner steel. But also just the regular composition of the steel really does matter. For instance, when I first started making steel drums back in the early 1990s, we had really good batches of steel. It didn't really matter which kind of barrel we used. It usually sounded pretty good, but somewhere around the mid-1990s, maybe 1998 or something like that, things just seemed to change. Ever since then, the steel seemed like it was maybe a lower quality, and so it was always a little bit more difficult to make a steel drum sound good and make it, shape it and tune it. Especially the tuning was more difficult. It just required more effort and more time to tune those notes. And when they did get tuned, sometimes they didn't always sound quite as clean or quite as pure as they did before. So with that being said, that's just regular old steel that I was using from a steel barrel. And now with handpans, handpans were initially made, the original hung, made in Switzerland, was made with nitrided steel, and I believe that steel might have been low carbon steel. So there were some nuances there that were brand new. Low carbon steel tends to have a mellower sound compared to regular high carbon steel or normal carbon steel, which is basically what you would get from a steel barrel. So low carbon steel has a mellower sound that's a little bit softer to work with the hammers. And then when you add nitriding to it, it hardens it again. So it makes it harder again, but in a kind of a different special way. Over the years, I've found like these are just made out of regular low carbon steel. These two here, these are not nitrided, they're not stainless or anything like that, but they still have a really nice, pleasant sound. So a lot of people, when they would come to my store, I had nitrided and I had plain steel in my store for a time. A lot of people really liked the warm sound that was coming out of the plain steel instruments. So that's why I kind of ran with that. It didn't seem to bother the customers that it wasn't nitrided or anything like that. So that's why I like the sound of this kind of steel. Nitrided steel, like I mentioned, has its own kind of distinct sound. It gives it a harder tension to the metal. So when you're working on it, when you're tuning it, it has a harder sound and a harder feel to it. And it, like I said, it does have a unique sound when you have nitrided steel. But not all nitriding is the same. Just FYI. It's almost like saying all types of Coca-Cola taste the same. You know, like there's the classic Coke, and then there's the Diet Coke, and then there's the Coke Zero. All right, those are all Coca-Cola, but each one is slightly different. Somebody might like the classic Coca-Cola. Some people might not like it. Some people might like the Diet Coke flavor. But it's all Coca-Cola. So just FYI, with nitrided steel, there can be good nitrided steel that sounds good to some people. There might be a bad version of nitrided where it doesn't have the same properties that you would expect from another nitriding process. So there's varieties of nitriding processes too. So just FYI, nitriding is kind of a tricky subject in and of itself. Finally, stainless steel is another option that a lot of people have been using, and I don't have one in front of me right now, but it has a kind of a goldish color, like this bowl over here. Kind of has a gold color to it. We have a model called the RS stainless steel model, and I really like stainless steel. It has a lot of sustain. It's really got a beautiful meditative sound to it. And also the other thing too is it doesn't really rust like regular steel does, so you don't have to powder coat it, and you can just use it kind of as its own metal and just let it be what it is. But I really like stainless steel. I think it's a great option for handpans. But again, it kind of depends on what you want from the handpan. So if you want to have a handpan that has a lot of sustain and a very meditative tone, I would suggest stainless steel. But if you're more of a player that you want to perform and have a little bit more of a punch to it, then powder-coated plain steel is fine. Nitrided, I would say, is kind of in between the two, somewhere between stainless and somewhere between the powder-coated and plain steels. One comment again on plain steel is plain steel, if you don't powder-coat it or if you don't have something permanent applied to it, it may rust, and so there's a lot of caretaking that you have to have with plain steel. But other than that, yeah, I think it's fine the way it sounds. It sounds just fine. And ultimately, with all three kinds of steels that I've just mentioned there, if the tuner knows what they're doing, it's going to sound probably pretty good. If the tuner is a beginner and doesn't really understand all of the ins and outs of tuning, then it doesn't matter what kind of steel that they're going to be using, because their tuning ability is not good enough yet to make any of those kind of steel sound good. So the tuner, the abilities of the tuner really matter a lot. So I would say that the type of steel gives it certain qualities of sound, but the successfulness or the perfection of the tuning is really determined by the tuner. All right, that was kind of a long answer.
Yeah, it was kind of a long answer. Ray Denton's like, come on, no more technical stuff. We want to hear more playing.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ercon, for the questions though. That was actually, I learned a lot on that.
Steel and tuning is a fascinating subject.
Fascinating.
All right, so we were just talking about getting started with playing the instrument and that sort of thing. I was talking about the different kind of fingers that I was using: thumb, index finger, little fingers, whatever, for whatever kind of type of playing you want to do, or whatever kind of artistry you want to produce. You can use different fingers. You can also use multiple fingers. You can use a thumb and a finger to produce, hit two notes at the same time. Sometimes up here I'll stretch my index finger out and my ring finger out, like that, to play two notes at the same time. Then you can also add in, like if I'm playing two notes down here and you have a single finger up here, now I'm playing three notes at the same time. You can even play four, like that. So it just it depends on how large your hands are, how far you can spread those fingers to get the different sounds that you want. Okay, so we were talking about a simple exercise, playing 4 on each hand, 3, 4, and you can always take this slow, because right now I'm actually playing a little bit fast, but if I was playing with a group of beginners, I would take this even slower. So that's one exercise, just to get that ding note sounding and get a nice sound out of it. So you don't want to have this kind of sound. You're not allowing the note to resonate, so you need to make sure that finger comes off to allow it to resonate like that, have a nice full sound. Now you can extend this exercise to the other notes on the side, just for a sample here, like starting on this note here, and it doesn't really matter which note, but you can get the idea of how it sounds and how it feels with the same exercise. So for absolute beginners, somebody that's not really a musician, that has just picked up the handpan out of the blue, I would say that it's probably going to take you a couple weeks to a month to start feeling fairly comfortable with just the way it feels to play the instrument and get a good tone out of it. It can happen quicker, obviously. It depends on how much you practice on a daily basis and that sort of thing. But in general, I think most people become fairly competent and fairly successful within 2 to 3 to 4 weeks. But you have to remember, like, learning how to play something like this, if you've never played drums, or if you're not a hand drummer, or if you're not working with your hands in some kind of rhythmic way, I was thinking about this earlier today, that it's almost like learning how to write with a pencil again, or it's almost like learning how to use the stick shift on a car, where it's a muscular thing where you need to learn how, your muscles need to learn how to do it. And it's not just like learning how to do some other rudimentary thing. It's something that's physical. And so, I mean, think about it. Like if you were in 3rd grade or 2nd or whatever age it is that you learned how to use with crayons or a pencil, when you first drew your name, it was all ratty-tatty and it didn't look good because you didn't have very good control. So it took you quite some time to get the muscles to understand how to use that pencil, and even just to pick it up and grip it, right? So give yourself some time. Don't expect yourself to learn this overnight. The muscles need time to learn this new way of using them. And if you're an adult and you haven't done this your entire life, so it might take a little extra time to just practice and allow yourself that extra time. Don't get too upset with yourself and just go for it and practice as much as you can, but not overly practice. Another thing I would say we're practicing, like if you're doing these exercises, you could do it for 10 or 15 minutes a day, even 5. Like if you just did this simple exercise for like 5 minutes once a day, you're probably going to notice that you get some ability to do it, success, within at least a week, if not sooner than that. But you can even do that multiple times a day. Let's say you did that exercise for 5 minutes 2 or 3 times a day. I think it would be better to do 5 minutes 3 times a day than 15 minutes all at once. So I would suggest you do like simple exercise like this for 5 minutes for breakfast, and then simple exercise like this for 5 minutes for lunch, and then again for dinner. And I think your body's going to learn how to do it faster that way, like I said, rather than doing 15 minutes all at once. So especially with these rudimentary exercises. Okay, so another thing we want to learn is how to play the complete scale on the handpan. So the complete scale starts on our left hand. It's the ding note. And then your right hand is going to play the A over here, which is the biggest note next to your tummy. And I believe we have this on screen there, so you can see where those notes are. So left hand, right hand on the A. Left hand goes to the C. This is a sunset scale D minor handpan, by the way. Right hand on the D. Left hand on the E. Right hand on the F. Left hand on the G. Right hand on the A. So it's all alternating hands. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And you can come back down. You can start on that right hand up at the top and come back down. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So that's a really good exercise for beginners too. Just getting comfortable to where those notes are. And then coming back down. And I'm going kind of fast right now, by the way, so if I was with a class of students right now in the facility here, I would probably take it much slower, something like left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Something slow like that, and just really feel each one of those notes, how it feels under your hand, and try to get the best tone possible. And then back down. You can take a simple exercise like that and basically do that for 5 minutes even. I'm going to go a little bit faster just to give you an idea. And then you would start again. As you see on the screen there, it says breathe. Over here it says just breathe. Don't forget to breathe. It really does help for the learning process. It gives your brain lots of oxygen, and it helps relax you. So that's one excellent little thing to practice as a beginner. On my lessons on the DIY community lessons page, you can also learn how to do different things with that scale. I think one of the other options was to play it twice, so twice. So you're striking each note twice, that is. And you notice that I'm not muting the notes, I'm not going... That doesn't sound like that. So what you're looking for is that nice, warm tone. So that's kind of a scale you can practice. So I've talked about how to kind of get the sound started. Talked about getting the scale started. Now I'm just going to give you a quick rhythm exercise. And we call this the Austin Funk. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are like, oh, he's doing it again. That's the Austin Funk. Because it's one of my classic little lessons that I give to all beginners. And it's a simple little rhythm that you can play with just a tad bit of melody in there, which is kind of fun to listen to. And if you're a beginner, it's fun to play. And if you're a listener, you kind of go, oh, that's kind of fun. So it's a very simple pattern. It's got it repeats a pattern 3 times up front. And then it's got like a little break in the middle, which is the C and the D notes. And it sounds just like that. That's the little break in the middle of it. Okay. C, D, C, D, and I'm playing left, right, left, right. So just hold on to that in your brain for a second. So the first part is this rhythm that sounds like this. And that's exactly what you would end up doing. So there's a couple things going on there that I want to explain. First of all, my right hand is over here playing between the notes on the interstitial metal. Not the note itself, and then rather than like hitting and coming off of the metal, I'm actually hitting and kind of leaving my finger on the metal to kind of create this little snapping sound. It's like a snare drum on a drum set. So over here, my left hand is kind of like the bass drum on the drum set, and this is like the snare drum, and it kind of creates this rhythm. So the left hand is going left, and then the right, left, left, right. So that's one little pattern. Left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right. And you'll notice a lot of handpan players on the videos you see out there, they will use this technique of kind of creating like a little backbeat behind what they're playing. And they're just basically using that interstitial metal to create that little clicking sound and that snapping sound. So once again, the pattern goes like this. Left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, stop, rest. And there's that little pattern I was talking to you about earlier that you put back in the back of your head. So it's left, right on the C and the D. So once again, the whole pattern sounds like this. Second repetition. Third repetition. Stop, rest, left, right, and that's the whole thing. And then you would just play that entire thing multiple times over and over again. And it's just this fun little rhythm that you can play just to kind of get the crowd warmed up if you're playing in a coffee shop or something like that, or if you're just playing at home, just watching TV. It's something fun to play. All right, so let's try this one more time, the whole thing. Left, right, left, left, right. Second time. Third time. Stop, and then left, right, go back to the pattern right there. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, rest. Just like that. And I'm going a little bit fast right there, but you get the idea. So that's the pattern, and it's fun to play. So when you're learning how to play the handpan, you might want to mix things up a little bit. You might want to do some real work on getting just the right tone going. You might want to practice some scales. That sort of thing. And then you also might want to practice some rhythm. Alright, so there's 3 great ideas that you can practice right from the get-go that are pretty simple and get you started on the handpan fast. Another thing you can do just to incorporate in all of those is dynamics. And dynamics in the world of music means loud or soft. So you don't have to play everything loud, you don't have to play everything soft, you don't have to play everything just the same loudness all the way through. You can vary it. You can make it louder or softer at any time you want. So that's actually one of the key elements of music, is kind of drawing that emotion out of what you're playing. It's frequently done with dynamics or by raising or lowering the volume. So for instance, if I wanted just to play this simple exercise, I can drift really softly. And I can make it go louder. And then go back to soft. And then get louder again. So you can see how that works. So it starts sounding like waves on the ocean, just kind of flowing up and down. So you get a completely different idea of how that exercise could work when you add dynamics to it. So those are some things you can experiment with on your own if you're new to handpan. So check them out. If you have any questions, feel free to write them on the comments section here, and we can answer them either now or later. And you can also go to our website, davezioninstruments.com, and send us a whatever comment we have on there on the little chat bot. It'd be great to hear from you. And otherwise, Daniel, are you still there? Let's see if Daniel's still there.
I am.
He might be in the background. There he is. There he is. What do you? Oh, I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Oh,
Here we go. Here we go.
There he is. There he is. Do you have any final thoughts? I know that you sometimes talk about the four elements of music. What is it?
Actually, the four principles.
Four principles. Tell us. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the four principles.
Actually, I have it here. Wow.
Okay.
No, honestly, like I've been talking to a lot of people that have been coming in to check out the handpan. A lot of I know are new to instruments, period. And the cool thing about the handpan, it's great because I find that it touches something inside you that we already have. And the question I usually ask people is actually the question I had as a teacher was, where does music come from? Because I wanted to know where I was, what I was teaching. And actually what I found is everybody has music in them. We vibrate at a certain frequency. We all have like a song. And so I read this book. It's called Music Medicine by Christine Stevens. She actually, nice. I think back in 2012, she started like the drum circle phenomena, I guess. It started doing drum circles all over the place, especially for veterans and how it heals. And these four principles of music really helped me. Once I figured it out, it helped me like understand what I'm trying to do with the music. And it works with every instrument, ukulele, handpan, or whatever. But basically it's just four things. The four principles of music is rhythm, melody, harmony, and silence. The first one is rhythm. And like I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes do you hear people, Dave, say like they're not musical?
Oh sure, yeah.
And it's funny because we are musical instruments because we have a heartbeat, which is your rhythm, right? And we have a voice, and like you're an instrument. And so since you are a rhythm, what does that mean in instrument terms? It means like when you start playing an instrument or you're starting to be musical, you have to practice. You have to get in tune with your body because you haven't done it before. So I agree with people. They're not musical at that time, but they have music in them, and they can be taught to get it out of them. And that's basically our goal, which is cool. Melody is you have a song. Like everybody has a song they're trying to sing, and it's kind of like it's like we don't know how to sing that song, so we have to learn. What does that mean in instrument terms? We have to learn the language of music, whether it's like notes, chords, how they go together. We showed the note chart and all that other stuff. So melody is a cool thing, and you have to learn that. And then harmony, this one I like because what is our goal for music? And for me personally, I think music is meant to be shared. And harmony has to do with a lot of that. First, you have to be in tune with yourself before you can harmonize with others. And then that means sharing. What does that mean? Either teaching, which I like to do, performing, sharing with your family, whatever that is. You're sharing your vibration with people, which is cool. And then silence, which has to go with the lesson, is like I think we like to go too fast. And silence is actually where creativity comes from. And you can't have music without silence. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. And so like what you were talking about going slow, it's about spacing the notes and finding the silence in between that notes, which is like super cool. But in a nutshell, that's what that means. And this is a good plan to follow if you're on that musical journey, which once once the handpan touches you or the ukulele touches you, you kind of want like a roadmap, and this is your roadmap on how to get to where you want to be. That's what I believe.
That's right. Yeah, it's sweet. It's awesome, man.
So, yeah, that's my 2 cents, or 4 principles.
Awesome. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I love it. All right, well, cool. I think that kind of sums it up for today. For everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in. It's really a pleasure to have you out there and making the comments that you do. Like I said before, feel free to contact us anytime, davesislandinstruments.com. And go to our Facebook page, by the way, and like our Facebook page at Dave's Island Instruments. And occasionally we post stuff on Instagram as well, at Dave's Island Instruments. So we'll see you out there in the handpan world soon. And other than that, have a great week. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. We appreciate the